Hey everyone, welcome back. We're doing a deep dive today into monetary policy, inflation, and alternative investments.
Yeah, always a fascinating area to look into, especially how it kind of, shapes our daily lives.
It really does. Our guide for this journey is Lawrence Lepard, founder of Equity Management Associates. He's a huge proponent of sound money,
Yeah,
assets that hold their value no matter what governments do.
yeah, that's a key concept here. He sees government-controlled currencies, what we call fiat currency, inherently flawed, like prone to failure.
Okay. So fiat failure, that's a new one for me.
Think of it this way. Fiat currency is basically money backed by nothing more than a government's promise. So its value depends on people believing in that government.
Right. So like if a government starts printing tons of money,
Right.
that could lead to inflation, and then suddenly my savings aren't worth as much.
Exactly. And Lepard argues that this fiat failure scenario is already happening.
Really?
He sees the U.S. government's massive debt as like a big red flag.
Yeah. He paints a pretty bleak picture, describing the U.S. government as trapped in this cycle of needing to print more and more money just to pay the interest on their existing debt.
Yeah, he calls it a wash, rinse, repeat cycle.
Wow.
And this leads to inflation.
Right.
He predicts we'll see 12 to 15% inflation,
Wow.
which is way higher than those official figures.
Yeah, 12 to 15%, that's a lot higher than the 3% we usually hear about. What makes him think it'll be that bad?
Well, he points to a bunch of different factors. One is the massive increase in the money supply we've seen recently. Remember those stimulus checks during the pandemic?
Oh, yeah.
All that new money has to go somewhere.
Yeah, and I guess it ends up pushing prices higher.
Yeah.
It's like when I went to New York recently, even a short taxi ride was $30.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Lepard uses anecdotes like that to show how inflation is already hitting our everyday lives.
So if we're headed for this fiat failure and runaway inflation, what's the lifeboat?
Right.
That's where gold, silver, and Bitcoin come in, right?
Exactly. He sees these as assets that are outside of the control of governments and therefore less vulnerable to inflation.
Gold seems like a classic safe haven, especially with it hitting all-time highs, even with interest rates going up.
What's interesting is that silver hasn't hit its all-time high yet, even though it's also seen as a safe haven.
So you're saying silver has even more room to grow. I'm intrigued.
Lepard thinks so. He predicts silver could hit $50 an ounce soon.
Wow.
That'd be a huge jump from where it is now.
Mm-hmm.
Imagine what that would mean for silver mining companies.
Okay, so gold and silver make sense. But what about Bitcoin? It seems way more volatile than those traditional safe havens.
Lepard knows it's volatile, but he believes Bitcoin's unique characteristics make it a really good alternative.
Like what?
Unlike fiat currency, Bitcoin has a limited supply.
What?
It's controlled by its technology, the blockchain.
So no government could just print more Bitcoin.
Exactly. This limited supply combined with growing adoption is why Lepard sees Bitcoin as like digital gold with huge potential upside.
He's pretty bullish on Bitcoin. I remember reading that he predicts it could reach hundreds of thousands, even millions of dollars per coin.
Yeah, it's a bold prediction.
Yeah?
But he believes that as more people lose faith in fiat currencies, Bitcoin's appeal as a decentralized store of value will just keep growing.
So what he's really getting at is this idea that our whole monetary system is broken, and these alternative assets are the solution.
He's definitely pushing for a move towards sound money,
Okay.
a system where currencies are backed by something tangible,
Right.
not just politicians' promises.
And he sees this movement gaining traction.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
He points to the fact that many countries, Turkey, China, even Singapore, have been buying a lot of gold recently. It seems like they're hedging against the U.S. dollar.
It's interesting that Western countries like the U.S. are doing the same.
Yeah.
Lepard's take on that was pretty blunt, wasn't it?
Well, he thinks they're making a mistake. They're clinging to a system that's unsustainable.
Makes you wonder what the world will look like if this sound money revolution actually happens.
Yeah.
What happens to our savings investments? How do we navigate this new world?
Those are the questions we'll be discussing as we continue this deep dive.
This is fascinating stuff. I'm already starting to rethink my own finances.
Yeah, a lot to think about there. Lepard says that this whole sound money thing isn't just about economics.
Okay.
It's about fixing bigger societal problems, too.
That's an interesting take. How so?
He thinks the fiat system, with all that money creation out of thin air,
Right.
contributes to wealth inequality, maybe even political instability.
I see that.
Yeah.
If governments can just print money whenever they want, it devalues everyone's savings.
Yeah.
Well, those at the top benefit.
Exactly. He says going back to sound money would create a more level playing field
Okay.
and reduce the potential for manipulation.
It's like hitting reset on the whole system. But is that even possible now?
Yeah.
Government seems so hooked on printing money.
Lepard knows it's a challenge,
Yeah.
but he thinks things are changing. He points to all the interest in gold, silver, Bitcoin as proof that people are losing faith.
Like a quiet rebellion brewing, huh?
Yeah.
Individuals taking control. But how do we actually do that? How do we get ready for this change?
He says start by educating ourselves.
Okay.
Learn about the history of money and how fiat is flawed.
So do our own research, not just listen to the media or big banks.
Exactly. He also says to diversify our savings and investments.
Don't put all our eggs in one basket.
Right. Especially if that basket is tied to a currency that's losing value.
But how do we choose the right alternatives?
That's where research comes in.
Yeah.
Maybe talk to a financial expert who gets these alternative assets. Just remember, no investment is risk-free.
Right. This isn't financial advice.
Yeah.
But even just understanding the basics and starting to think about these alternatives is important.
Totally. Lepard's message is about empowerment, taking control instead of being stuck in a system that's failing us.
Like learning a new language.
Right.
A new way to think about money and value.
And even though it might seem tough at first, the payoff could be huge. Financial security, peace of mind.
Sounds like this sound money revolution isn't just about changing our currency. It's about changing our whole relationship with money.
That's a great way to put it. Moving away from debt and endless growth towards something more sustainable and fair.
It's a huge change in perspective.
It is.
Definitely something to think about.
Lepard believes this shift is inevitable. He compares our current system to bloodletting in the Middle Ages.
Bloodletting? That seems a bit extreme.
Well, he's saying that just like medicine eventually moved past bloodletting,
Okay.
once they realized it was harmful, our financial systems will also evolve.
So he sees this sound money movement as progress.
Exactly. A step toward a healthier financial future.
It's inspiring to hear that optimism given how bad some of his predictions are.
It's not about doom and gloom. It's about seeing the problems and acting to make things better.
Yeah.
He wants people to be part of the change, not just wait for it.
So we've talked about the problems with the system and potential solutions, but a lot of people are probably wondering, what does this mean for me?
Great question. He says to start by examining our own beliefs about money.
Okay.
And how the current system might be shaping those beliefs.
Question those assumptions we've always had about money.
Yeah.
I like that.
He also says to look into the history of money.
Right.
And think about adding things like gold, silver, Bitcoin to our portfolios.
So become financially literate, understand our options, and make smart choices for our own goals.
Exactly. And remember, knowledge is power. The more we know about money, the better we can handle these changing times.
This has been a really eye-opening conversation. I'm already starting to rethink my own finances.
That's what we want. People feeling empowered and informed, ready to take control.
What really strikes me is how Lepard manages to be both like alarming and optimistic at the same time.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, the system's a mess, but hey, there's a way out.
It is refreshing. He doesn't sugarcoat things,
Right.
But he offers solutions and hope.
It's not all doom and gloom. He wants people to take action.
And speaking of action, he had some interesting things to say about those who aren't on board with sound money yet.
Right.
Especially Western governments.
Oh, yeah. Their stupid comment about them not buying gold.
Well, he says they're failing their citizens. They're clinging to a broken system, maybe out of habit or because they don't get the risks.
Sounds like they're just kicking a can down the road.
He worries about that.
Yeah.
But he also says the longer we wait, the worse it'll be.
So it's not just theory. This has real consequences for people.
Exactly. That's why he says we need to get informed, ask questions, and be proactive.
Take responsibility for our own little life rafts.
Exactly. And those life rafts might look different for everyone.
Right.
Some people might go for gold and silver.
Yeah.
Others might explore Bitcoin and crypto.
It's about finding what fits your risk tolerance, your understanding, and your goals.
He says there's no one-size-fits-all.
And it's not about blindly following any one expert. Lepard wants people to do their own research and decide for themselves.
He even has a ton of resources on his website, em2.com.
Oh, yeah.
Including his macroeconomic letters, which go deep into the global economy.
We'll definitely link that in the show notes for anyone who wants to learn more.
It's a goldmine of info.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, what's the main takeaway?
Don't get complacent. The financial world is changing.
Yeah, the old rules don't apply anymore.
It's about knowing the risks, exploring options, and protecting yourself.
And maybe even more importantly, understanding sound money.
Right.
And how it could lead to a better society.
It's a call to action for everyone
for both individuals and for society as a whole.
to shape a financial future that works for everyone.
Lepard says that future is still being written.
Yeah,
We all have a part in deciding what it'll look like.
that's a powerful thought.
It is. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. Until next time.